With the release of The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild in March of 2017, the Zelda series was shaken up by a game taking everything in an exciting new direction. But this wasn't the first time. Hello, and welcome to a new Museum Mini, a series here on Tanner's Game Museum that gives you a bite-sized dose of video game history and info. This time we'll be covering Zelda's transition from 2D to 3D. The Legend of Zelda began on the Nintendo Entertainment System, with of course, The Legend of Zelda. The game put you into the shoes, or boots rather, of Link, a young boy who is tasked to save the fantasy kingdom of Hyrule, as well as its princess, Zelda, from the soon-to-be series antagonist, Ganon. The gameplay consisted of a few key aspects, including exploration, combat, item collection, and navigating multiple dungeons. The primary goal of the game was to emulate the feeling of an adventure, wandering out alone into a gigantic world. You had your goals to accomplish, but the joy of Zelda came from the feeling of wonder. You never really knew it was around the next corner, or what was hidden in the nooks and crannies of the world. There was always an upgrade or item to find, and to really get the most out of the game, it was best to approach it like you would in the real world. Make your own map, take notes, wander around and take in the scenery. Series creator Shigeru Miyamoto wanted to transfer his experiences exploring the world around him as a child into a video game. Thus, the Legend of Zelda series was born, and through the 8 and 16-bit eras, it continued to grow and refine its gameplay. The third game in the series, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, was a great example of a finely polished formula. A Link to the Past was in many ways very similar to the very first Zelda game, taking on its top-down perspective and moving away from the major changes that Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link made. But as the 16-bit era began to slow down and the horizon of 3D games was quickly approaching, fans anxiously awaited the first 3D title in the Zelda series. What would become of it? Would it change drastically? Would it lose the feeling of wonder and exploration that the previous titles had? Some fears were dismissed by the very open-ended Super Mario 64, released in 1996 for the brand new Nintendo 64 console. But Zelda was a different kind of game. Could it possibly move over to 3D as flawlessly as Mario had? Fortunately for everyone, the transition was quite seamless. Despite the brand new world of three-dimensional visuals and gameplay, 1998's The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time managed to maintain the defining traits of a Zelda game, including the most important one, the feeling of adventure. It's hard to explain how grand and huge the game feels when you first step out in a Hyrule field, after leaving the safety of the Kokiri Forest. Just like the titles before it, it manages to pull off that feeling of being a small part of a huge world, just taking it all in and experiencing it. Although the true size of the game pales in comparison to modern open-world games, there's still something that's magical about Ocarina of Time. And for a game so early on into the lifespan of 3D games, that's very impressive. Not many games could pull something like this off so gracefully. Ocarina has been praised endlessly since its release, and it deserves the legacy it received. It isn't without flaws, and certain aspects haven't aged quite as well as others, but it still has an undeniable impact on how games are made to this day. How's that for a transition? If you enjoyed this and would like shorter content like this more often, let me know in the comments. As always, thank you for watching.